Bizarre stories from the subscribers. Hi, Leo Augusto. My name is Elton. I'm 16 years old, and this story involves my parents and uncles. It happened a long time ago. I was about 12 years old and lived in an alley with 2 entrances.
I've always been very curious and used to listen in on the adults.
During my sister's birthday party, I saw my parents and my uncles talking about some girl in white. I went to ask about it, but they avoided the subject and never answered me. Years later, when I turned 15, I asked my aunt about that girl in white they used to talk about so much. She told me that at a birthday party, everyone was having fun and drinking, when suddenly they saw a girl in white entering from one end of the alley and leaving through the other. Repeatedly she appeared, coming out from one side and reappearing on the other in an endless cycle. Everyone watched through the cracks in their houses and saw this scene repeat itself. Without understanding how she did that or who she was, I decided to investigate further and found out that this girl was the soul of someone who died in a well behind one of the houses in the alley. I remember playing hide and seek and hiding on top of that well. Luckily, nothing happened, right, bro? Just imagine if something happened in that well and I fell inside. I wouldn't be here to tell the story today, right? The girl's apparition stopped when they built a church on the site. The divine energy in that ground probably sealed any supernatural trace of that girl, right? For some reason, that soul didn't reappear, thank God. I believe they didn't tell me before to keep me from having nightmares or something like that. Thank you, Leo Augusto, for reading my story. Hey, Leo Augusto, my name is Marcelo. I've been following your bizarre stories since the very first episode. Everything happened in 2018 when I was 6 years old. One day, I went to visit my paternal grandmother's house. When I got there, I met my 2 cousins, Daniel and Dudu. We spent the whole afternoon outside playing soccer and playing tag and other things, right? When it got dark, we went back home. When we got there, my cousin Dudu suggested we go up the stairs to the apartment where he lived. Strangely, when we got up there, he started acting weird. Suddenly, he attacked me, and my cousin Daniel pushed him against the wall to protect me. That's when he said, "I'm going to get the knife." We thought he was joking, but he went to the kitchen, opened the drawer, and grabbed the thing. We ran out down the stairs and almost didn't trip. When we got downstairs, we found out that all the adults had gone out to pick up the pizza they had ordered. Daniel and I hid under the bed, while Dudu came down after us, asking where we were. His breathing was heavy and we were afraid of being found. I quietly asked Daniel, "Now what, man? What do we do? Is this kid crazy?" While we waited for his answer, Dudu found us. Daniel started struggling to break free, and I used a judo move, right? I'm a yellow belt. To restrain him, we managed to escape. We ran out of the house and shouted for help. Everything worked out. However, to this day, I seem to be the only one who remembers this incident. I always wonder what made my cousin freak out like that. Later, I found out that he was born with a condition on the autism spectrum. The doctors recommended psychological counseling, but my aunt ignored it. I also learned that he had problematic behavior since he was little, like the incident when he was 2 years old. I almost drowned. I believe that these signs, combined with the condition he had, may have contributed to the episode that day.
But it seemed like he had something in his body, man, to act that way, right?
Hi Leo Augusto, my name is Rafael. I'm 12 years old. One day I was at the farm with my family. We got there and had breakfast, spent the day. Soon after, it got late and I went to sleep. I heard some strange noises in the wooden walls and I got a little apprehensive. Until there was a moment when I grabbed my phone and quickly lit up the place. I saw that they were rats. They were running back and forth, and there were gaps where they came in. Even so, I managed to sleep for a while. I woke up to their noise. I checked the time on my phone and it was 12:57. It seemed like they had just had coffee. They were frantic. I started to feel a bizarre itch that just wouldn't stop. I don't know if it was psychological or just dirt. So I decided to take a shower to see if I could get rid of this discomfort. But when I got in the shower and looked at the soap dish, there was a rat chewing on the soap. Bro, my friend. From there, I grabbed my towel and went straight back to bed. After that, I managed to sleep. I woke up around 7 in the morning and realized I was covered in scratches all over my body. Could it have been the rats while I was sleeping? The sheet also had some holes in it. Going to the kitchen, I saw my family eating at the table. I told them about the rats. They thought I was just having a dream. 2 days later, we went out and returned home. But that kept bothering me in my head until I was already in my room, right? I was almost falling asleep. When more noise started, it felt like I was in that filthy house full of rats again. When I turned on the light in my room, there were about 10 rats running around and more coming out of my backpack. I thought it was a nightmare because I had gone through that situation, so I decided to close my eyes and cover myself completely. I don't know if it was real or just my imagination, but the next morning my room was a mess. I had more scratches, my backpack was on the floor, and the window was open. Hi, Leo Augusto. I'm Manuel, 16, from Núcleo Bandeirantes, Distrito Federal. I want to share with you an experience that marked my life. But first, a shout out to my brothers Lucas and Gabriel, who introduced me to your channel, and a hug to everyone who's watching. It all happened when I was 12 years old and attended one of the most well-known schools in my city. The daily walk to school and back home was a ritual I kept, even though it was a bit long. The cities around here aren't that big, you know, so it's easy to walk around. At school, my friends and I were constantly bullied by some classmates. They didn't handle very well the fact that I had earned a scholarship at that institution. The teasing and provocations were frequent, but I tried to ignore them as much as possible. One day, as I was returning home on roller skates with music in my ears to distract myself, I noticed that 2 of the students who used to bother me were following me. I felt that nothing good would come from them, so I tried to speed up, taking long strides, but they caught up with me, destroyed my headphones, and took my roller skates. They threw them into the middle of the street. I tried to break free, but I couldn't until something unexpected happened. A truck came speeding toward us. I shouted a warning, and when they looked, I barely managed to escape. One more of the troublemakers was hit head-on by the vehicle. The shocking scene is etched in my memory. He flew several meters forward. We called emergency services immediately, and overcome by panic, I returned home. The outcome of that incident deeply marked my life, man. The following year, I decided to change schools. It was only through my friends that I learned about the condition of the boy who was hit. He had lost movement from the waist down. That episode haunted me for a long time, man. I was intrigued by the presence of the truck on that road. After all, it wasn't an area with heavy traffic. But the situation affected me so much that I barely had time to identify the driver. That experience taught me a valuable lesson. Never bully anyone because its consequences can be devastating. Hi, Leo Augusto. I'm Federico, a guy who loves food apps. Today, after an exhausting week of work, I decided to order a snack for myself and my girlfriend Helena. We were going to watch a movie and, with a few taps on my phone, I placed the order, man. The restaurant was close to my house, but I had never ordered from there before. So I thought it wouldn't take long to arrive, right? However, an hour went by and nothing. 2 hours, still nothing, man. We finished watching the movie and the food still hadn't arrived. Until finally, the delivery guy was at the door. When I opened the door, something caught my attention on the delivery guy's face. Deep wrinkles, tired eyes, and a scary paleness. He didn't look well, man. But I decided to ignore it. I just asked why the order took so long. He said he came from very far away. I didn't argue, saying that the restaurant was just 4 blocks away. Hunger was screaming louder at that moment. I thanked the delivery man and took the bag to the table, where Helena was already waiting anxiously. When we opened it, a horrible odor filled the room, a smell of mold, something that reminded me of spoiled food. We were shocked when we looked at the contents of the bag. The burgers were soaked, not in sauce, but with a strange viscous liquid. The fries were limp, covered in a greenish substance that looked like mold. Man, I looked at Helena in shock. This is ruined. It looks like food from years ago, I said, a chill running down my spine. The delivery guy looked so worn out. Was something sinister happening with that delivery? While we tried to calm down, we heard a strange noise coming from the bag. It was as if something was moving inside. Carefully, we opened the other burger package and found something that made no sense at all. Small insects were crawling back and forth as if they had been trapped there for a long time and had finally found freedom. I got tense. Dude, what is this? I grabbed my phone to call customer service, but when I looked at the screen and there was no delivery record in the app, we immediately threw all the food in the trash. Right then, I decided to go there, man. To the establishment that claimed to be the restaurant. We walked there, but the place was closed. There was a for rent sign and it was all run down. All I knew was the name Lanchonette Seat. In fact, I searched for it again on the app, but it didn't show up anymore. Man, that was the most enigmatic story that ever happened to me. Hi Leo Augusto, I'm Leonardo and I'm 11. Today, what happened to me was something supernatural, and I can prove it. I went to my grandmother's house to help her with some things, and she asked me to clean the living room mirror because it was dirty and full of dust. While I was cleaning, I saw an image in the mirror, like a pale girl staring at me. She was licking her lips as if she was hungry and wanted to eat me. I got scared and turned around. There was no one there. When I looked at the mirror again, she wasn't there either. I finished helping my grandma, took a shower, and got ready to go to school. During the math test, I felt like something was wrong. The feeling of tightness in my chest was there. I looked ahead at the board and the girl was there, looking at me with a scary smile from ear to ear. But now she was holding a knife. I screamed, and everyone who was taking the test started asking me what had happened. I realized that no one could see the girl, so I said I was startled by a cockroach passing by. And everyone calmed down and finished the test. When it was time to leave, it started raining heavily and I didn't have an umbrella. I walked home anyway, and the street was empty. Something told me to look back, and when I did, I saw the girl running after me. I started to run away and kept looking back, right? She was almost catching up to me, man. When I got home, while I was grabbing the key, I looked back and she was almost catching up to me again. I quickly opened the gate and closed it. Right after that, her hand got caught in the door, making the knife fall inside. I still have the feeling to this day that I crushed a real flesh and bone arm with the door. I hid under my sheet the whole day. The next day, man, I heard my parents talking and saying they saw a knife lying by the gate, thinking it was strange. I didn't say anything because I was afraid they wouldn't believe me. Guys, I released another comic in the store, cartoon. Cat vs. Siren is a story that takes place in a land destroyed by these bizarre creatures and shows the battle between these two titans. Who will be the winner of this battle is the big question we all want to know. If you don't know, we follow Leo and Grandma's adventure against evil. Children from the neighborhood are mysteriously disappearing. What could be happening? Will Leo, Augusto, and Grandma be able to solve this mystery? We have other comics too.
Add the store's WhatsApp and we'll be here to help you.
I want to share an experience that, although it's not exactly supernatural, still gives me chills. During the Special Police Actions Battalion training, which stands for Special Police Actions Battalion, at the time when we were part of the training school, we started a survival course. Among the many activities we did, one of them involved walking and crawling in the mud, as well as going through friendly fire situations where we couldn't lift our heads and so on. There was a peculiar moment. They took one of those rabbits, really white, with red eyes and fluffy. Each of us had 30 minutes to interact with it, pet it, play, and have fun. At first we thought it was just to entertain us, but soon we found out the truth. The one who showed the most affection for the rabbit would be chosen to kill it. From the beginning, I suspected this and tried not to show any emotion, avoiding looking or crying. Luckily, another person crying and screaming was chosen. I prefer to feed on roots and grass and hydrate myself rather than do that to the animal. I spent several months in intense training. On some occasions, while some colleagues were resting, the snipers on duty in the jungle or in the Katinga reported seeing shadows of soldiers passing by and opened fire. Everyone would wake up, flashlights would be turned on, and when they went to check, they found no one. I don't know if it was hallucinations from those on duty or if it was something else, but one thing is certain in the jungle. At night, if someone isn't prepared, they can go crazy with what they experience. Thank you, Leo, for reading my story. Hi, Leo Augusto. My name is Ana Clara, but everyone calls me Clarinha. By the way, I want you to draw me with purple hair, please. This happened when I was 5. My family didn't believe in spirits since for them it was all made up. At Christmas, I got a ladybug doll from my dad, which was my favorite cartoon at the time, right? Everything I did had to be with the doll. When I took a shower, the doll was there. When I went to eat, the doll was there too. Even when it was time to sleep, I would hold the doll close to fall asleep. She was practically everywhere I was. I loved that doll. My mom said she saw me talking to her, but she thought it was normal, right? Since I did that with all my dolls. But there was a catch. Leo, when I talked to the other dolls, I did their voices. But when it was with Lady, I didn't do that. I just kept talking to her. It was like I was listening and responding to what she said. It was like the doll was talking to me about something and I would answer that question. My mother was surprised at first, but she believed I was just pretending, right? One night, my mother was cooking dinner, and out of nowhere I showed up to talk to her. But I was crying with a look of shock on my face and stuttering as I spoke. My mom asked what was going on, right? She thought I had hurt myself or something like that. I answered out of desperation.
Mom, the doll moved. She told me that at night she's gonna get up. Get a knife from the kitchen and wipe out everyone in this house. Starting with my relatives and lastly me.
I spoke to my mom in a tone of desperation. There was no way she wouldn't believe me. She carefully went to my room, took Lady, and sent her to a pastor at our church. The pastor said a powerful prayer and said that doll was not pure. There was something in that pile of plastic that was not from God. The doll was possessed by some tormented soul that sought to spill innocent blood. After our religious authority anointed it, the thing seemed clean again. My mother said the doll thrashed around. How can such a thing happen? She brought it back to our house and tried to give it to me again, saying everything was okay, but I didn't accept it. Even so, all I could remember were the creepy things it said to me. After my mom told me that, I asked her what she did with the doll, right? What happened to it? She said she left it inside a wooden box in the garage. So I went there to look at the doll again. When I opened it, it had melted. The doll was already misshapen. My mother believes it was because of the heat in that garage, but I don't know. Thank you for reading my story, Leo Augusto. I love your channel and have followed it for a long time. I hope you guys enjoyed this bizarre story from the subscribers. And if you want to send a story to appear in this segment here, just send it to this email, inscritosleogmail.com. I'm stopping here. Bye.